on my own way, with never looking back to those who lived in fear. There was nothing I could do, there was nothing you said that could make me realize how much lucky I was. Just out of reach of the fire, was not aware of the nightmare. But when I stopped to see through sight, begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now, to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among others. I've got to try it. If I bleed tonight, if I exist tonight, I don't have the time to fight. And if I wake tonight, I'm so tired tonight, I fall asleep when I'm home. When I'm no place to go, no one that can see me through at the side of the light. I can see my life is crap, I have to see them too. I just live into my world, far from the pain, the feel. Was out of reach of desire, was not aware of the start of hell. But when I stop to see through sight, begging for help, begging for hope, just need to open my eyes now, to try to change them to sunshine, to be someone among us.
And ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday. It is 7 p.m. and that means it is time for the Locker Room Breakdown. This is our Raw Perspective. I am OMD. Bubba Duke is again on assignment tonight, but I am joined by a very special guest, the host of the Chris Parrish podcast, my friend and yours, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Parrish. How are we doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here always. You always have an open invitation to this show.
I know, and I appreciate that.
But we do know that for us here in Canada, it is a holiday today. It is Victoria Day, the Queen's birthday. So we know that normally you're doing a run-in on the Raw Patrol, but
Yeah. Sometimes life gets in the way, and that's why I usually have to do those run-ins. But, right now life is not in the way, so I'm here and I'm ready to go.
fantastic. Well, let's start with last week, and we had a lot to unpackage. We had Penta securing a victory over Chad Gable, countering the ankle lock. What were your thoughts on this match?
Well, it was good because, one, it's a rematch from Penta's WWE debut, where he faced Chad Gable in that victory. But I thought it was really good because I thought this was a time where you got to be very careful with Penta. He's been losing more often, not a lot. Like, it's not that bad, but he didn't get the Intercontinental title out of WrestleMania. He didn't walk away with it against Dominic Mysterio. So that he was kind of not in a slump, but on a winless streak, we'll say. So
Right.
Him getting back in that win category was great. It really sucks to come at the expense of Chad Gable, who I think always seems to be in that winless streak, or it feels like it, and you question it. But I mean, these guys put on a great match, and somebody had to win, somebody had to lose. But at the end of the day, Penta did walk away with that win, but it also creates that luchadors versus American made story.
Right. And I mean, you touched on it. I know I have alluded to the fact that Penta has been on this slump, so to speak. And for me personally, like, the way I'm seeing it is he's getting now the same booking he was getting elsewhere, where he was getting these fantastic matches, but always coming up short.
Yeah, and I think this kind of helps you put more of that human aspect with Penta instead of him being this superhero just because he wears, a full body suit and a mask. And I think that's the very relatable aspect of Penta. And I think because of that, you're able to see so many different sides, but that's why it's so easy to be emotionally invested in him rather than just visually invested with what he does. So, I think that's a good thing, but at the same time, you don't want it to go too far.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, I had Penta pegged to come out of WrestleMania. I did not have him pegged coming out of Backlash. So good to see him get back. As you said too, it sucks that it was at Chad Gable's expense, but it furthers that storyline of him wanting to take out and defeat luchadors.
Yeah, and it also creates that, Chad Gable's the one who always struggles against the luchadors, and thus being the reason why El Grande Americano comes in, because he does not. So there's just that story that they remain to keep really intriguing, although we have a very high opinion about who El Grande Americano is behind the mask. The fact that they're just going forward with this, regardless if it may seem silly or whatever, it's captivating our investment. And it's kind of just like R-Truth with 24/7 Championship. You just want to see what they do next.
Right? 100%. I love it. Up next, last week, we had American-made Julius and Brutus Creed defeating the War Raiders with the Brutus Ball finisher, which the winner was going to receive a tag team title match.
Yeah, and this was a great match. And what I think Raw desperately needs right now is great matches in their tag team division, because right now they are heavily looked at as the weaker tag division between the two brands when you look at the difference between them and SmackDown. So when you continuously see good matches on Raw, that's a great sign. The only really setback was how the SmackDown tag titles were not represented at WrestleMania. The Raw was, and that match didn't really seem to live up to the expectation or the hype that maybe the SmackDown one would. So it's a really nice thing that the Raw tag team division continues to shine on Monday nights. But I thought this was a well-needed win for the Creed brothers, because it definitely looks like that they were going to be at the outs looking in, and they've been doing that for too long. So it's nice that we're now seeing some inclusion with them. But at the same time, with the War Raiders, they didn't need the win, because they already have that vented emotional investment with the New Day. So basically that announcement that we get later in the show that I'll let you get to, it really makes a lot of sense of what they're trying to do.
Right. Yes, and as you just touched on, it was announced later in the show. Adam Pearce made it a triple threat tag team match with the New Day defending against the Creeds and the War Raiders. And I'm not sure if that match is tonight or if that's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't remember when they said it was. I want to say they say 2 weeks. They have a tendency of now saying in 2 weeks, opposed to just saying next week or, at a specific event. I know it's not at Saturday night's main event, so it's going to be on, I believe, an edition of Monday Night Raw. So I want to say it's probably going to be next week. So they have another week of building to that match.
Yeah, 100%. Because, yes, we did see it a little bit later in the show. This was a segment here. The Bulkster has been adding major segments. And Jey Uso came out to address Logan Paul when he was interrupted by Gunther, who then told him that on June 9th, 2 nights after Money in the Bank, Gunther will be challenging Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship on Raw.
Yeah. And I kind of like that, because now that the road doesn't get easier for the World Heavyweight Champion, because no matter what, there is a test not only at Saturday night's main event, but there's one in the wait. And now what I really think that this does, it makes Jey Uso look like $1 million as a world champion, because he does have that match against Logan Paul at Saturday night's main event. And although, yeah, you can sit here and say that it's a foregone conclusion that he'll retain the title, it's Logan Paul. And the one thing that he always seems to do is have you believe he's out of the fight until the fight happens, and then you kind of second guess whether or not he's going to win or not. That's kind of what Logan Paul does.
Right.
So to kind of see where that comes in, how Jey Uso is going to overcome not just this match, this challenge, but also the perception that this is quote unquote a given win
Right.
before the match even starts. You then have him needing to look to the bigger challenge, which a lot of people say is Gunther. So because of that, this is great. It keeps the ball moving. And now it really includes Gunther right back into the story, because you have to wonder, it was just a matter of time before Gunther says, I want my rematch.
Yeah, and I like it for the fact that now you're making Jey look truly credible as a champion, with contender upon contender starting to stack up. But I do want to give a shout out here to Ozzy, saying, what's up, yo, dude, and then asking if he can make us a panel. We'll get to the socials and all of that in a little bit, as well as a link for turnbucklestudios.org, where you can check us out there and email us. AJ Styles and Finn Balor, probably the second best match of the night.
Yeah, it's, we all know their stories. We all know that they were former leaders of the Bullet Club in New Japan Pro Wrestling. We all know that they had very different and interesting ways to do the WWE. And never really once did WWE truly click into that faction. However, as we have Jaylee Beans coming in, I believe that could be a raid as well, so we appreciate that. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's always very fun to watch these two compete, especially with the rarity that we get with this match. So the fact that we're looking in 2025, still curious, still invested, but very excited, because all they do in that ring is just make you go, they haven't lost a step. This is awesome.
Right.
Absolutely breathtaking. What they're able to do is second to none. It's why they're two of the very best in ring. But this match was just back and forth, very fun. And of course, you're going to get all your shenanigans that come with it, with the Judgment Day, and then with, Penta coming down later. So it was very fun just to watch it, but it also creates this feud.
Right.
And it really keeps it fresh too.
It does. And I mean, as we have seen in the past, we've had the contention within the Judgment Day and sort of some cracks in the foundation with Finn seemingly on the outs. And you've got this match because AJ wants to challenge Dom for the Intercontinental title, which I think is probably going to happen June 28th at Night of Champions.
Yeah.
But initially, before Finn joined the Judgment Day, he was teaming with AJ and Michin against the Judgment Day. Do we revisit that in the future?
It was actually Liv Morgan, not Michin. Michin came after the fact.
Yes, you're right.
So, yeah, I mean, we very well could. And I've been saying this for a few weeks now. Finn Balor is coming off as the one who looks like he is the odd man out here. But I wonder if this is all smoke and mirrors, because who seems more likable in this current fashion right now? Finn Balor or Dominic Mysterio?
Right.
And yes, 6-7 months ago, you're not even saying Dominic Mysterio and likable in the same sentence, let alone the same breath. But the funny thing is, after WrestleMania came, Dominic Mysterio somehow just has this aura about him that craves, we want to cheer him.
100%. 100%.
And Finn Balor's the one who called him a snake. He's doing all the dirty stuff and behind the back tactics. So I really wonder if Finn Balor is the one who's going to go to the good side, or if this is just, hey, check out what we're doing here so we can smack you over there.
Right. Let's go back to the start of the show with CM Punk opening the show and addressing Paul Heyman as a fat snake for his betrayal at WrestleMania.
Yeah, name calling. That's always going to be a great sign to get you to love him, but it's CM Punk, and that's what he does, and he always gets away with it. And that's why CM Punk is CM Punk. But at the same time, Paul Heyman has made a career out of slithering out of a situation and into new ones. So can you really be surprised, CM Punk? Not to mention, this ain't even the first time he turned on you.
Right? Which CM Punk did allude to in that.
Yeah, and isn't the old phrase, fool me once, shame on me, but fool me twice?
Yep.
Or vice versa, whatever it is. I don't know. Like, it's like, come on, CM Punk. You should have known.
Yeah. And I mean, we did have Paul Heyman interrupt, and Paul Heyman went ballistic again, resulting in Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker coming down to assist Paul, which led to Sami Zayn coming out, and we get that tag team match for Saturday night's main event this week.
Yeah, and you have to wonder if this is truly something that's going to look exactly the way that it currently feels. Or is there something more to this? And I have to really feel it's more the latter, because I feel this is the new Bloodline segment in WWE. And I feel that there's going to be layer upon layer upon layer in this. So we can all say like who we think could be the third man, because that's kind of the theme throughout Monday, where it felt like there was more baby faces to heels. And we have not been used to that in the story. So now the odd question is, does somebody turn? Does somebody return? But who joins this trio of Braun Breaker, Seth Rollins, and Paul Heyman? And you have to really wonder, is it somebody that's already in the picture, or is it somebody who's not in it? And then on top of this, what does Roman Reigns feel about it? Because we haven't seen him for a while.
Right. And I mean, we've been asking here at the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, is it a male superstar? Is it a female superstar? Mm-hmm. And as you addressed, are they in the company currently? Is it a call-up? Or is it just a turn?
Yeah.
So many layers to this. We also did see Jey Uso attacked backstage by Braun Breaker following instructions from Seth Rollins.
Yeah, and what really looked very similar to past kind of attempts where we see somebody get attacked in the back, and then later we find out it was all like a ploy for something larger. So I got vibes out of that quite early. But at the same time, it's also hard to kind of feel that that's where it was going when you see that this segment was really making Braun Breaker just look like that vicious dog that he really is. And he showed his bark, he showed his bite, which was even the bigger thing. And I think it was a great way to try to isolate the situation in all its glory.
Right. And this just, again, adds more layers to Jey Uso, because we've already discussed Logan Paul. We've discussed Gunther on June 9th. Now you could be looking ahead to Seth Rollins or Braun Breaker at Night of Champions.
Yeah, and that's just it too. Like, Braun Breaker is now making a spot in that world title conversation for himself. So it's like, yeah, no, does Jey Uso have to worry about Logan Paul? Does he have to worry about Gunther? Like you said, now is he worrying about Braun Breaker? Because Jey Uso is somebody that's also been putting himself into this big position as well, and kind of keeping his nose in all these situations. He's very much Cody Rhodes too right now.
Yes.
Where he just seems to always be aligned with just about everything that goes on. So does Jey Uso right now, does he have to simplify what he has going on, because he's a marked man because of that championship? You don't want to be a marked man because of other reasons as well.
Right. And as well, we had Becky Lynch come out and address the universe in regards to her determination on getting championship gold, be it the Intercontinental title, be it the Women's Championship.
Yeah. And that's just another picture, isn't it? Right? Like when you look at it, at this point, you could almost make a case for just about anybody to get there, because there's nothing completely concrete. It's very easy to go back to what, Backlash, WrestleMania, and kind of that, and just continue. But right now it does seem open. Obviously for right now, like, I don't know, like, what do you think out of this? Because I feel like you can go so many different ways here.
There are so many different directions, and we're going to cover the Money in the Bank qualifiers for tonight here in just a little bit. But, like, we've already seen Alexa Bliss qualify. She was the first woman to qualify. She is sort of my odds-on favorite and my pick to win the Money in the Bank. But I'm torn.
Yeah.
I am torn because we did see a new addition to the SmackDown Women's Locker Room in Julia on Friday. My pick, if I'm going with somebody from Raw to win the Money in the Bank, is Roxanne Perez.
I want to kind of paint this situation out. Is this the year we get that historic failed cash in on the women's side, as it's never happened before? Because eventually we will see the first, and that is something I'm very interested in seeing. Because if you do have somebody who is more of a legit star or a bigger like somebody who's been world champion a few times, and I'll say maybe somebody like a Rhea Ripley, could this be that time? I'm not too sure, but all I know is this Money in the Bank season that we're heading into always seems to ramp up the female division, and that is what I'm very interested in, because let's also remember, whoever wins that will most likely appear on both brands, because they have that capability now.
Yes. And let's not forget that this is now the first year where we have secondary women's championships in the Intercontinental and the U.S. title. We've also never seen a woman cash in for the tag titles.
Yeah, and I don't think we will, but crazier things have happened.
Right? And this is where I'm looking at, if we get Roxanne Perez and Julia, even though they've sort of broken up as a tag team, you could get that. Okay, now we're going to really take over and assert our dominance.
Yeah, because I guess given the circumstance, if Julia was available to sign with SmackDown, does Roxanne Perez have that same flexibility and opportunity to do so? It's going to be interesting, but she did tweet it out. It's time for Monday Day Rocks. So we'll see. Right now, I think this could just be WWE's way of separating the two, because they wanted to introduce both. Tag would be the best way. They clearly aren't a tag. Let's now kind of go their own ways. But again, I'll say it again, crazier things have happened.
And speaking of crazier things, let's talk about last week's main event, which absolutely stole the show. You and I have been hyping women's wrestling for quite some time now. We are on the same page with this. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley defeating Roxanne Perez and Julia in the main event.
Yeah, this is the match that really kind of set the separation for Roxanne and Julia. Now, a lot of people online like to go and say, why did they have to lose? This just buries. No, I'm like, yeah, it totally buries somebody when you lose on the main roster in your first month to, I don't know, the biggest female star in the company and the world champion. Like, I'm sorry, but please hit that hit that button that takes your head out of your ass, because it does not. They're in the ring with two of the biggest superstars in the female division, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. The bigger question was, could Io and Rhea get on the same page. And guess what? They did, and they did very well because Rhea knew, because she's very experienced, that she knows her doing her job gets her closer back to that title. And Io needs that win because she can't let anybody gain any ground on her. The pressure was really on Julia and Roxanne, and they did not disappoint. They put on a banger and a hell of a performance. But they just couldn't click because, for whatever reason, they just weren't in sync with one another. And because of that, we saw the foundation crack, and they did not get the job done. Ripley, I believe she pinned Roxanne Perez for the 1, 2, 3. But what a match. And it just seems like there's this story, whereas if you put the women in the main event, they're gonna up the tempo, they're gonna up the ante here, and I think we should just let them continue to do this because they're not disappointing and they're just kicking ass. Hell, I'll even go on and say this. I think we might have to look at women main eventing more shows, whether it's PLEs or television shows, for the foreseeable future.
That is something we have been seeing since really WrestleMania 36, I believe it was, when we had Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda Rousey. They've been starting to main event both Raw and SmackDown quite a bit. Not so much the PLEs. That's still sort of being reserved for the world title. I think we could have done it at Backlash because you didn't have any of the major players there, so to speak.
No, but it was Randy Orton versus John Cena, most likely for the last time in Randy Orton's home city. Yeah. I do think that was the right call, but I think, a SummerSlam, you very well could main event one of those 2 nights with a big women's match, and I do think that would be the correct call, because if you want to say the proof is in the pudding, well, right now the pudding might be the best in that female division, because right now, whether or not you want to look at last week's Raw's main event or hell, last Friday's SmackDown main event, it's just nothing but quality, and they're up in the game, up in the tempo, up in the standards.
Yes, the women have been absolutely stealing the show, and we have heard a lot of talk and rumors about Evolution 2 coming.
Yes.
And I am really hoping that they make that official announcement in the very near future, if not tonight.
Yeah, no, I really hope so too, and it's just I think it's more of a matter of time. I think the cool thing is that this company, WWE, definitely is in sync with what the crowd wants, and the crowd wants a second all-women's PLE.
Yes, 100%. So tonight, let's move on to tonight's show. Mm-hmm. We are getting, and I'm going to guess that this is going to be our main event, Jey Uso and Braun Breaker non-title match. Now, we know these two have history over the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, actually, earlier in Adam Pearce did put out a clip kind of giving us some things of what to expect tonight. He did mention that Jey Uso and Braun Breaker will be the main event. So you are correct by saying that. And yeah, this match, I'm very curious because he also said Logan Paul is in the building. Now, I believe so is Sami Zayn, so is CM Punk. And wherever Braun Breaker is, Paul Heyman is there, and Seth Rollins in there. This could go for a real chaotic finish to Monday night, and I'm here for it because that's exactly what I think we all love, is a little bit of chaos every Monday night.
Right.
And
I mean, you just alluded to it. There are so many different directions that this can go because, yes, Logan Paul is scheduled for a live appearance. Is he going to come out beforehand and maybe get into Jay's mind, costing him that match? You've got the CM Punk, Sami Zayn scenario. You've got that. And let's not forget, you've got Gunther. Mm-hmm. So now you are looking at up to 7 people all in and around that world title tonight alone.
And I'll even go 8 because, again, we just don't know about Roman Reigns.
Right.
So it's very intriguing. It's very convoluted. But again, I'll say it again. I'm here for it all, and I want to see what happens. Do I think we're gonna see Braun Breaker beat Jey Uso? It's hard to think. It's hard to think that because Jey Uso is your world heavyweight champion. But I honestly do believe we're gonna get a non-finish to this match. But I really do think we're gonna see Braun Breaker put out one of his better performances of his career.
Okay. And as you've alluded to this, we do have CM Punk and Sami Zayn both expected to appear, potentially addressing their upcoming match. There's no denying that that's what they're going to do. Do they come out together? Do we get them coming out on their own with one then interrupting the other? Where do you see this going?
I mean, given their segment last week, it definitely seems like they are on the same page. They know they have to work well, or they have to work together, and they both know that's the best thing for both of them as individuals. So it feels like they're in sync. I do think let's just say the stardom or whatever, the ego of CM Punk, we'll see CM Punk do CM Punk. We'll see Sami Zayn do Sami Zayn. But I think it'll be more interesting if we see somebody get to the ring and then the other, or if we get somebody come out only to get the other one. That's where I think it's going to tell a story.
Right. As well, Paul Heyman is likely to be present, potentially influencing where that segment goes. And this is where I could see potentially Braun Breaker lose that main event spot if you kick off the show with this and Braun Breaker gets the snot beaten out of him.
Yeah, and I just don't think that is what we're going to see. I really don't, because the way they've been building Braun Breaker up, I don't think they're going to make him look like a guy who is vulnerable. In fact, I think this could be a great way of maybe we see CM Punk in the ring. He calls out Sami Zayn. He doesn't come out. He tries to do it again, and maybe we see Sami Zayn beaten down by the trio or the duo of Seth and Braun. Maybe we don't see any physical interaction within that fighting. Maybe we just see Sami Zayn down. Yes, this will add more allure to that potential. Is Sami Zayn going to be the guy that turns? But I think this is the best way to do it, because then it makes maybe the Seth Rollins CM Punk thing a little bit more of a heated thing, but then it also can create so much. And then we see Braun Breaker and Jey Uso, and we think everything's fine. But really, Sami Zayn could be making that historic fight back, like he always does.
With everything surrounding CM Punk from WrestleMania through now, has this derailed him from his world title aspirations?
I don't think it's derailed. I definitely think it's a detour. Because once again, the Money in the Bank ladder match is right there. We don't have any Raw men's matches. CM Punk very well could be in one of those qualifying matches. But at the same time, CM Punk also knows that there's probably a lot more time. We don't know if there's going to be a draft. CM Punk could go to SmackDown. We might see CM Punk get that title opportunity at SummerSlam or a PLE beforehand. So I don't think this necessarily derails him, but it's definitely a detour. But I think it's a necessary detour to just for kind of the landscape of the company. Right.
Okay. So we are also going to see tonight, from what I was given, 3 Money in the Bank qualifying matches, men's and women's. Now, I know you told me before stream the two women's matches for tonight.
Yes, I believe the first one is. Hold on, I will get it right here because I just don't trust my brain. But we do have Kairi Sane making her return, and she will take on Rhea Ripley and Zoe Stark in one of the triple threat qualifying matches. And then we will also see Natalya go up against Becky Lynch, and I believe the other one is Roxanne Perez. So that is those are the two triple threat qualifying matches. Which should be very intriguing. My big question is, with Kairi Sane coming back, does she get that win? But then a lot of people are just talking about Kairi Sane coming back. We haven't seen Zoe Stark for quite some time either. So I think because they're making Kairi Sane that big deal, I do think she picks up the win. I do think she picks up the win against Zoe Stark, because I have a feeling something. I wonder if Roxanne Perez gets involved in that match to cost Rhea, and I wonder if Rhea costs Roxanne her opportunity.
Right. And honestly, I'm a little disappointed that this is how they're going to bring Kairi back. I think they had good opportunities to do it a couple of weeks ago when Rhea was in Australia and Io needed saving from Roxanne and Julia. That would have been, I think, the ideal time to bring Kairi back to make the save and reignite what was left of Damage Control.
Yeah, but that was a segment where they were getting beat up by Roxanne and Julia, correct?
Yes.
I think that segment for two folds. One, you needed that, I think, to kind of showcase what the duo of Roxanne and Julia at the time were doing and how maybe threatening they were to the women's division, because they are the new blood coming up. But I also think, too, what you're saying is 100% correct. It would have been the perfect time from our visual. But what happens behind the scenes and whether or not it was available to them, right, that is something that we don't know. We don't have any information. So because it didn't happen, I have to go on the ledge of thinking that just wasn't an available thing at the time. But
right,
crazier things have happened.
And I mean, now that we don't have Damage Control and Pure Fusion Collective, do Zoe and Kairi continue that rivalry that they've had history with throughout?
I think that's a very interesting question, because I want to see kind of what Zoe Stark is now that she is on her own again. Is she going to continue on being a heel? Is she going to go more on the face side? How is she going to be perceived now that she is on her own and there is no Shayna Baszler, there's no Sonya Deville? I think that is a question for me about Zoe Stark.
Right, 100%. 100%, because, yeah, we don't know where Zoe lies. Or do we see maybe now they say, okay, we've fought against each other. Why don't we team up and try and take out Rhea Ripley?
And that, to me, I think could make a lot of sense too. But I don't know. To me, I do think there's going to be something. I do think this is the time to pull the trigger on Kairi Sane. I think this is the time to maybe pull the trigger on Becky Lynch. I do think giving putting star power in the Money in the Bank match matters. And I do think Becky Lynch is going to qualify. But I'm very intrigued to see whether or not we see Rhea Ripley be the focus of this, because another name we're not talking about, another name we haven't seen in a while on Raw too. Now, yeah, talk about Zoe Stark, what she's going to be. We talk about what Kairi Sane's impact's going to be. We haven't seen Bayley in a while too. Does she make her presence felt? Because Becky Lynch did admit of taking her out. Do we see Bayley coming back in this?
Right. And I mean, we haven't seen Natalya in forever either on Raw or on SmackDown. So a lot of variables going into these two. Now, I do have Roxanne actually qualifying tonight, and I have her as one of my 2 picks to win the Money in the Bank briefcase, simply because of, yes, she has had that rocket ship truly strapped to her since coming up to Raw with the run with Julia, with her spot and getting that longevity spot in the Royal Rumble, qualifying for the Elimination Chamber. I think that maybe you pull the trigger on Roxanne, but you let her wait, let her cook with the Money in the Bank until WrestleMania next year.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued with Money in the Bank this year. As we all know, the last year's winners, we saw Tiffany Stratton win the women's, and she waited a while to cash in. But on the men's side, we saw Drew McIntyre win, and he cashed in on the night, and he ended up getting absolutely thieved by CM Punk in that opportunity, who pretty much called his shot. If that was to happen, that's what he was doing. So I do think we're going to see a little bit more storyline driven stuff with the Money in the Bank winners. I'm kind of closer to your line of thinking of Roxanne Perez winning. The only thing I'm doing is, if I was to play devil's advocate, why wouldn't she qualify? Maybe it's because she's going to get ziplined into a feud with one of the top stars right away.
Right. Very intriguing tag team match coming up as well. As we are getting AJ Styles and Penta versus Finn Balor and JD McDonough.
Yeah, the reunion of JD and Finn tag team form. They haven't, I don't think they've tagged with each other since their championship loss earlier this year to the War Raiders. So it's going to be very, very fun to watch them back. Yeah. But with Penta and AJ Styles, this is where I'm going to be very curious with, because I'm looking at, where does Karrion Kross fit in here?
Okay.
I absolutely believe we could see Karrion Kross as the new leader to the Judgment Day.
Okay.
And the reason why I say this, what has he been doing? He has been trying to get more out of AJ Styles.
Right.
AJ Styles wants the Intercontinental Championship. Karrion Kross, I don't think, cares about what AJ Styles wants, because AJ Styles didn't give what Karrion Kross wanted at WrestleMania against Logan Paul. So I'm wondering if this is a slow build to put Karrion Kross as your new leader to the Judgment Day. It could make a lot of sense, but I do think he is the one person in this tag match who is going to change the outcome in this tag match, and he's not even involved.
Okay. Very, very intriguing. I like that line of thinking, because I was leaning more towards we are going to see the interference from Dom because of his history with Penta, because he's got AJ gunning for him. But I mean, we saw JD McDonough, when he returned, got involved in a Penta match, and the two of them the following week. And I mean, I asked this last week, is there anything these two guys cannot do and cannot deliver?
I don't know, because like right now, Penta just is absolutely firing on all cylinders. I think JD McDonough is one of the most undervalued and underutilized talents on the roster. I'm not going to say underappreciated, because I think everybody with a beating heartbeat now appreciates what JD McDonough does after they saw the sacrifice of him in that tag match with Dom, just to finish the match before he got hurt. So I think this is going to be something to see. I would love to see JD McDonough pick up the win in this match. I think that would go a strong way, but I do have a feeling we're going to get Finn Balor and AJ Styles somehow in this decision.
Okay.
Because who is the one person who wants the new member? It's Dominic Mysterio. what if Karrion Kross helping Finn Balor is Dominic Mysterio's way of getting Finn to accept a new member?
Right. And I love that line of thinking. I'm wondering if we're going to start maybe seeing within the Judgment Day, like you said, Karrion Kross is the new leader, but I wonder if we're going to start seeing different splinters of the Judgment Day with, say, Finn and JD going and doing their thing. I said this a few weeks ago when the tag team of the Righteous were released from another company. Bring them in, put them with Karrion Kross. And do we get those splinters from the Judgment Day into sort of 3 different groups, but can unite as a whole?
Yeah, and there's so many ways because right now we have no idea what the creative is for the Wyatt Six. And then you also have to look at guys like Aleister Black. And they're all very much in the same kind of form.
Right?
So, yeah, it'll be very interesting. Or could this just, again, I think Smoke and Mirrors could be the theme of what we're watching every week, because could this just also lead to Karrion Kross going into business for himself?
Right.
It's really hard to tell, but I mean, it's why we say this is our Raw perspective.
Exactly. And lastly, in a match that was given away last week, we are getting it this week, Sheamus and Grayson Waller.
Yeah, it's very intriguing to see kind of this be a thing, but it's, again, something I think it's going to very much dictate the relationship of Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. I think nothing is more obvious than that. But I'm very intrigued with the Sheamus involvement. Right now, it seems like Sheamus is there to not do anything important, but really just kind of help storylines grow.
Right.
But in a weird thing, I have him winning this match. Because as much as we like to, or we've seen Austin Theory lose to talents, and then later maybe we see Grayson Waller beat them, I have a feeling this is kind of where we start seeing the change, that if Grayson Waller can't get the win against Sheamus, he got put in that match because of Grayson Waller. Do we see Austin Theory kind of, give it back to Grayson Waller this week? That I think right now that is the burning question. When does Austin Theory snap at Grayson Waller?
Right. I've said this actually last week here on the Locker Room Breakdown, because we have seen this fractured relationship between A-Town Down Under for about 6 months.
Yeah.
They need to shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, and sadly, one of the reasons to why this continued was an episode with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory behind screens, where I believe it was Austin Theory was choking and Grayson Waller was the one who helped save him on that, to the fact that it was just hard to fathom these two not liking each other. So that kind of propelled their tag team. But I think this is kind of what everybody wants. We want to see Grayson Waller get his upbringings from Austin Theory, because I think it's now time that Austin Theory gets his own light, and he gets his own light in that positive way, because given what he does outside of the ring, we want to see what that personality is inside the ring as well. And Grayson Waller, is there really a better heel in the mid card than Grayson Waller right now?
No. But I mean, we even saw it. They didn't show it to us last week, but they told us, well, now you've got Theory and Waller arguing at ringside. Well, again, shit or get off the pot. You have to pull the trigger on this breakup sooner than later. I'm kind of leaning towards tonight, or maybe next week, we're going to see a handicap match with A-Town Down Under versus Sheamus.
Here's something I would say. What happens if both men are involved in a qualifier to Money in the Bank? and it comes down to one of them, and they both they just bicker at each other. They both end up losing. And this is now a time where like Austin Theory's been there, done that. He knows how important it is. Grayson Waller now is upset, and that's where we just see it. It's snap.
Right. I mean, because we did see it going into, I believe it was Stand and Deliver, where it was Theory versus Waller versus Oba for the NXT title.
Yeah. And so, to me, I think there's more they can get out of this, but again, at some point, you're going to have to just pull the trigger. So, as you say,
shit or get off the pot.
You got to make the choice sooner or later.
That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that just about wraps up our Raw perspective. Again, big thanks to Chris Parrish. Mr. Parrish, could you tell the people where they can find you? As soon as my banners come up here.
I already got it. It's right there, down below, Linktree/Chris Parrish. It's all right, I got it. But yeah, you can catch me on that one every Sunday. You can catch me on my 5 platforms of doom. That's right, my Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, my X, and my Instagram for the Chris Parrish podcast every Sunday at 12:15. This coming week, we will have episode 78. And we will definitely talk about Saturday night's main event as well as preview NXT Battleground, where later that day we will do the Chris Parrish Battleground watch party. So you definitely want to check that out. And as you all know, as of just yesterday, I announced that I will be putting out the interview that I did with Hollywood Haley J. You don't want to miss that. I will definitely get a little bit more teaser free for everyone to enjoy, but that is where you can find me then. But you'll find me on the Raw Patrol in about just 10 minutes.
Yes. I would be remiss if I didn't give this guy a shout out. This is the guy that ensures we have our research here at the Locker Room Breakdown. A shout out to our friend, the Bulkster, Bulk Bogan. Find him on YouTube and on TikTok, both of them at Bulkster Show. Again, things would not be done around this show if it weren't for him. And that's because I just waste my day gaming. Bubba Duke, he is off tonight again. But you can find him on YouTube at Bubba OMD and on Twitch at Boar's Nest with Bubba Duke. That is where he streams a lot of his solo stuff. We are going to eventually get this show streaming over to his platforms as well. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are looking for me, you can find me at my Linktree, linktr.ee/OMD show. With that, ladies and gentlemen, from all of us here at the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program and the Locker Room Breakdown, to those of you out there wherever you are, good night, good luck, we out.